Well, salutations, dear viewers. You're on with NeX into the Vast Nexus, and welcome to Limbo. I almost called it Inside because this was Inside's predecessor from the same development company, studio, individuals. I have to say that the art style in this game is just beautiful. This is like being inside of a painting. Now, as with Inside, we, the participant, the player, are sort of left to our own devices to try and figure out what in the hell is happening. Who is this child? Where are we going? What are we doing? Why are we here? There is a broad theory about the events of all of this. However, outlining that would kind of venture into spoiler territory a little bit. Now, one word of warning, while it's still early on, this is not going to be a completionist run. The reason I did Inside before Limbo was because I had the know-how to do a completionist run of Inside, but not Limbo. And the thing is, I've read guides and so forth, and either something's bugged, or I'm just... I don't know. And furthermore, some of the completionist type things, because there are collectibles in the forms of these eggs that you sort of squish, and then that's the thing. One of them requires you to complete a full run without dying once. I have yet to accomplish this. I mean, some of the traps in this game are just mean, and I'm not talking about those bear traps that I easily avoided. So what can we infer so far? Well, we appear to be a child, and we're in a wood, a forest. I mean, the trees and so forth are huge. And it's not the safest place imaginable. It's not going to get much safer. I also like the detail in the character animation. I mean, even though this is all 2D, now, a key difference between Limbo and Inside is that unlike Inside, this child cannot swim. If we land in water, that's game over. Just enough parallax to indicate that that trunk is a foreground thing. Ooh. Almost sent myself flying into the great beyond there. A little bit higher, I think, before I start the swing. I'm just going for this one because A, I know it's here, and B, just to demonstrate. So yeah, the collectibles look like this. They're glowing, shining egg things. You step on them. And then, you know, collectible get. We will use this section of log to navigate the water. one of our first big hazards is coming up, a far more active antagonist than what we've had to deal with so far. I hope nobody's got arachnophobia. This one I recommend bailing on, because the third one is always a quick stab before the trap can reset. After that, though, it's a regular jab. Well, that's 3 legs down. 5 to go. Although technically we only clip the ends of the legs, granted that's what the claw is. And yes, for those of you who didn't know, arthropods, which includes... well, I mean, specifically I'm talking about insects. They have claws at the end of their legs, which is how they climb surfaces. They're not sticky. They literally take advantage of tiny imperfections in a surface. You know, to you the wall is smooth, but to them it might as well be a climbing wall. Be stuck. Like I said, I hope nobody has arachnophobia. I'm also glad that the leg count is still right. There's 5 visible legs after we clipped 3 of them. It is a little strange the spider does not have a distinct abdomen. The spiders don't have heads. Their head is a part of their thorax, which is why spiders have so many small eyes scattered across their body. Kinda need it when you don't have a head to turn around. They still have compound eyes, which have a far wider field of view. Like, for those who don't understand, the whole function of a compound eye, as opposed to our lens-based eyes and so forth, is that a compound eye basically trades fidelity of vision for field of view. So a compound eye, if you think of it as having like a sort of bubble shape, a kind of dome, it can see in a full 180 degrees. But the clarity of that perception is lacking. Basic colors, basic shapes. It does its job, at least. So spiders don't have distinct heads. They do have distinct abdomens. Scorpions are part of that same arachnid family. You might notice scorpions also don't have distinctive heads. Although their abdomen has elongated into, you know, the stinger. People get grossed out by bugs. I find bugs are fascinating. It is a life form that is very fundamentally unlike us, considering that we're vertebrates. Ow. How does that drop not prove fail? I mean, depending on how you hit that particular hill, the child here can end up landing on their head. I know it looks like they get some really bushy hair, but I don't think that would save them from the fall. That's not even one of the more sinister traps. I mean, honestly, aside from, like, carrying through the swing, you can kind of disembark as the rope rebounds if you hit back early enough. these traps are not natural hazards. Somebody built them, along with that dummy, so we're now in the realm of intelligent adversaries. Not super intelligent. You'll see why later. I mean, stuff like this. I'll show you all who's really the Lord of the Flies. Yeah, like this thing. You don't time that just right, it's bad. Oh yeah, they pull up the rope. Smart. I'll save them from me, didn't save them from the spider. Music is used very well in this game. Like, that tone is specific to the spider's proximity. The closer he gets, the more you hear it. Spider's a little whoopsie. And then has a big whoopsie. Told you I'd show you all who is Lord of the Flies. Is anybody even gonna get that reference? I didn't read it myself. There's a hint, it's a book. And then there was one, I guess. Now remember, Spider, you immobilized me first. And, since you're unlikely to regrow your legs, I'm just going to do to you what you were probably going to do to me once you got hungry. Yeah, for some reason, these other... Well, I mean, given that this character is sort of implied to be a child, and these other characters are not much larger, these other children are going a little medieval on each other for some reason. Yeah, I can get through this initial section without much in the way of deaths. The problems will start when we end up in the factory areas. That's where things get a little rough. Our first hint that those are bad. Thanks to the grayscale palette here, it's pretty easy to tell. You know, in the interest of saving time, because I could run over there, and one of them is at the other end of an obvious trap. And if you start moving, he keeps looking up at it, and then looking at you, and looking up at it, like he's waiting for you to trip it. And, like, if you try moving away, he throws a rock at you, but if you already have the body ready, he's just not here. A little hint. So if you haven't figured out the worms are bad yet, now this is a wonderful aspect of playing with player expectation. You see something that is not part of the natural backdrop. It looks like a button. You figure, oh, if I press that, that thing above me is probably going to crush me. Nope, that's the safe spot. But if you come over here expecting the same thing, that is a button. The funny part is that clearly this wasn't built by them, because it's too industrial, but they don't understand. So the first one ends up in the spike pit. Oh, yep, I just caught a dart. I waited too long to show off the spike pit death. Like I said, this isn't going to be a no-deaths run. It would be tragic if I go through the rest of this with no deaths, and that one where I was deliberately careless ends up... He's in the pit. First guy steps on the button. So we are transitioning into the industrial area. Oh. Our first encounter with the worm. I hate undue disruption. And we are free of the worm. Yes, the worms do not like light, and when they are in control of you, you can't stop moving. You can only dictate how fast you move. You can't even choose the direction. Oh, tricky. Yeah, there is actually momentum. You gotta get a small run up before you try making a long jump, or you won't make the jump. And whatever this creature is, we are putting him in a hamster wheel that will somehow power this massive machine behind me. Which also somehow makes rain. Well, this is hypothesized to be part of the lore with regards to this character, that their family moved, possibly for work reasons or thereabouts, and I don't know, maybe we're going for like a European thing where they moved into the city and it was always rainy, and so a child conflates, you know, the machinery of the new job that their father, mother, whatever was working, with this new rainy thing. But again, theoretical. Like I said, this game is like being inside of a painting. I mean, the camera here even pulls back to just give you that sense of... yeah, no. Still shots of this game literally just look like something that somebody painted. If there's a crate, chances are we're going to need it. Right about that should do it. Yeah, you have some classic platforming elements, like sequences like this are almost like an auto-scroller where the player is forced to keep moving because of some environmental hazard or factor. The worm is a more direct instance. Of course, instead of moving the camera and having the player be outside the camera's range, the sort of rendered environment inexplicably kills them. It instead opts for the notion of the player themselves being or the player character, rather, being manipulated by an exterior force and unable to control their own character fully. Some very serene music. It's a bit less serene when the character drowns, as you probably imagine. And it feels like the music swells the higher the water gets. More worms and pillars of light, which means that, yep, we got another worm section coming up. This one, you have to think ahead. Oof. Oh, that's... Yep, I'm dead. Not supposed to be able to get me until after I have the box. I think I literally have to wait for him to sway away. Yeah, you gotta get this box over here ahead of time, because it always moves you opposite the direction you were traveling when you get wormed. And so in order to move forward here, we have to make for this light pillar, but without the crate, that's not possible. But they put the crate right under the worm. This whole section kills me frequently, to be honest. Ladders are one of the few places you can actually choose to stop moving while under the influence of the worm. But here, we actually want to move quickly, because our way out is on the other side, so we need to redo this light beam again to get ourselves facing the opposite way on the ladder. Yes, there's a pipe that broke free down there, so we'll be using that as a platform. But yes, we can stop on the ladder. I mean, even if the game forced us to move up or down, we have enough ladder between both of these ladders that we would be able to buy enough time to wait for this pipe to get to where we need it to go. We can't spend too much time, though, because the water level is still rising. Now we're in a city environment. Or at least some kind of developed area. Oh, nope. I blew the climb. Your timing on that H has to be very exact. And your timing, if you want to catch that loose wire, also has to be very exact. Like I said, this isn't a no-deaths run. And I had too much momentum. Fine, I'll stop doing it the fancy way. I've wasted enough time. I'll just slide off the O. Like, there's supposed to be some sort of small bump on the outer perimeter of that O that we need to rotate to a specific orientation to unlock a secret later. But, I mean, I don't know how cleanly this is going to encode in video, but this O looks perfectly round. I do not see a bump. The guides I read were just not very helpful. A little extra height to break that glass. Here's the thing where prior knowledge is kind of essential. The moment you start pushing on this, it's going to fall over. And the problem is, we have another worm coming up. So, if we were forced to keep moving in that direction and not back down, that would have crushed us. Of course, I am using the term worm. Might not be appropriate. Could be a soft-bodied arthropod. Those exist. or the larval form of something. They tend to be somewhat squishy, though they are still chitinous. I know a lot about bugs. I don't know, vertebrates are boring. Very homogeneous. Well, except for, avis, birds. Because the feather is an evolutionary... how, even? I mean, we've even discovered dinosaurs that had feathers but still used skin flaps to fly, which seem to generally be the more common option. Like, how did feathers become a thing? Because they're sort of an impossible structure. These industrial bits. This particular swinging bit that I'm coming up to also tends to kill me at least once, because it's very touchy in terms of the pattern. So here we want to hold back to fight the influence of the worm. Gotta be very precise with that timing. So, you notice we lost a lot of height getting over here. We need to regain that. Trouble is, there are varying methods and mechanisms that we have to use for that purpose. This is obviously a swinging gag. We gotta get it up high enough on one end. But the thing is, my general consensus with this one, you have to get it higher than you think you have to. Like there, that looks like it would be enough. No, we gotta get it even higher. And I just made it. This is literally just a momentum pendulum. One thing, even with these industrial environments, is a sense of ruination. These places feel burnt out, broken, old and worn. Which, based on some of the interpretations, I mean, especially for the fact that the game is called Limbo, definitely has some interesting connotations. Now, Mark took entirely too long to figure this one out. I mean, there's a handle on the lower elevator thing, and it's suspended by chains. I mean, the solution to this puzzle seemed very obvious. That was half of one of his videos to figure that out. I think it bled into the subsequent video. He was young. Huh. It takes longer to go up. Alright, this little one. So hit one. Wait before you hit the second one. You need to stack them or you're not avoiding that saw. There's a reason why that one's so slow. Here, we have, like, green in the middle of the factory environment that we were just in. I mean, it's clear that the construction of this world doesn't make logical sense, which is what gives this place a dreamlike quality. That and the monochromatic color palette. You know, I find it interesting the symbolism of our character being the size of a bug compared to a lot of this, and yet we're frequently encountering actual bugs that we happily tear asunder. These industrial environments just keep getting weirder. Ow. Head bump. Oh no, I remember what I have to do. We have enough space on the ramp for me to get over here and relocate that platform before the tire reaches it. I have to be on this side ahead of time. There's not enough time once it's on the platform. And now it's a simple matter of momentum. Do not conflate simple with easy. Huh? Conflate, or that word would confuse be more appropriate verbiage there?